today's video, we're going to be taking a look at multiple snowstorm opportunities, including the eastern seaboard and mid-Atlantic, as well as impending extreme cold air that is on the way for the United States. Real quickly, let's talk about my consulting company, Prestige Weather. We're closing out an amazing year with so many happy customers. If you're looking for more than the generic hourly or daily forecasts that can be so frustrating and very broad, look no further than Prestige Weather. We help out individuals and businesses alike. If you're an individual looking for better, more accurate, and direct weather information, be sure to subscribe to our standard package. That's only $4.99 a month. You get early access to direct weather, seasonal, and monthly forecasts, also weekly one-on-one calls with us talking about the weather, and regional forecasts cater to your area. If you're a business, organization, or event manager, be sure to email us at prestigeweather@gmail.com or use the sign-up sheet on our website business section. We would love to work with you. We've been helping out so many businesses, organizations, and events just like yours plan for the weather ahead. We offer consulting calls, texts, and emails catered to your exact location of need. We will be on standby during your job or event and give you updates from start to finish. We also offer long-range, medium-range, and short-range forecasts. We can help with rainfall and snowfall forecasts, plus the timing of onset and ending, which is so important. We pride ourselves on being highly flexible, and we're always willing to deliver on your specific needs. Put a meteorologist in your pocket so you no longer have to guess what the weather will do. Let's go ahead and dive into things, and as we take a look here, we're going to first off go over the European model, dive into the GFS American model, and then we'll break down the total precipitation and total snowfall on both of those. Let's roll through with things, and as of today on Saturday, January 13th, we already have some pretty severe cold air up in this area. So if you're in the Rockies here, in the northern plains, or the upper Midwest, you are likely feeling severe cold air that is already in place due to this Arctic air mass that has gone ahead and moved down into the United States. Let's go ahead and move forward. Before we do have a low pressure system here. That's actually a secondary low to this bigger low up here that I'm circling in over the Great Lakes, and this caused quite a bit of snowfall over a lot of the plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes. That one is going to go ahead and move out, of course, and what we're going to be left with is a little bit of a drier pattern, but much colder overall is the current expectation. As of already by tomorrow on the 14th, we do have some snow showers around for the Northeast. There is some general but weaker low pressure here near the state of Maine, and that is causing some showery and flurry activity. I would say it's going to be very light, likely not accumulating, and it's going to be rather marginal for the most part. We do have a little bit of a stronger low here over the state of Colorado, and this is causing a little bit of an elongated area of precipitation, both for the Rockies here and the kind of central and southern plains. We're seeing some wintry activity here. It's very shocking how far south we're seeing some of this dive for states like Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. It's going to be relatively weak, unfortunately, for some of you cold and snow lovers. Obviously, we had some guidance earlier on suggesting that this could have been a little bit of a stronger system. It appears to be quite marginal and quite weak for the most part. But we are seeing light to moderate freezing rain and light to moderate snowfall depending on where you're at here for Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Tennessee, which is for the most part rather unusual. So definitely going to be on the more interesting side of things here. And that's as we're getting to the early morning of Monday the 15th. And as we get a little bit later on here, we can see that for the afternoon on Monday the 15th, this area becomes a little bit more intense, a little bit more elongated here, as we have some pretty heavy freezing rain happening here for eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, and portions of northern Mississippi and southern Arkansas there. Snowfall occurring for some of Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Definitely very interesting, like I mentioned, and it is worth noting that El Nino years like the one we're in do tend to bring these stranger weather events such as this one. So that is definitely a factor and something that led me to believe that events like this would potentially be occurring during this winter that we're now in the midst of. As we reach Tuesday afternoon, we can see, well, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. We do see that this does overnight, Monday to Tuesday, so 15th into the 16th, cause some snow showers and lighter snowfall overall for a lot of the Appalachian Mountains here, and then also portions of the Mid-Atlantic. So even though it's not likely to be a major snowfall event, it certainly does appear like it could be an interesting minor snowfall event that is probably more than we could have said beforehand for a lot of these different areas. As we reach further into the afternoon, we do see a very, very weak low has developed offshore of North Carolina and Virginia, and this is currently causing some light to moderate snowfall here for portions of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast by the time we're reaching Tuesday on the 16th afternoon. Now, we're going to see some differences starting at this point between this European model that we're currently looking at and then the GFS American model that we're going to take a look at in a minute. And one of those differences is going to be the European model here is going to go ahead and just do away with this low pressure system. It's going to quickly move out. The GFS model from this point is actually going to have a lot of this low pressure try to transfer further south to a secondary low that develops a little bit further south. And this is going to cause more snow chance for these areas. Still nothing crazy, but a little bit more than we're seeing here on this European model, enough to where I feel like it's worth noting. Also notice the temperature pattern is looking very, very ripe here in the eastern states. I mean, we have a really solid cold air mass over the central and eastern states here, and we have a nice looking positive PNA that is developing here across the southwest that is supporting all of this. Now, as we reach towards Wednesday afternoon here, we can see that much drier but rather cold pattern here for most of the east across the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and other portions here of the Northeast as well, certainly causing, again, colder than normal conditions for the most part. As we keep moving forward, towards Thursday afternoon, we can see that a low that was located over the Northwest causing snowfall to the Cascades and Northern Rockies has began to kind of move down into the kind of the central and northern plains here, causing light to moderate snowfall across states like the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Montana, and Wyoming there. As we keep going towards Friday afternoon, we can see that this does have some chance to have implications for the eastern states. As of now, for the most part, this model does not have this verifying towards anything too major, but considering that this is past 5 days, which would be about 120 hours, for instance, this is 144, I have to think that there is some potential for this to develop into a little bit more than we're seeing here. A lot of times this is how your snowstorm signals begin, is a weaker signal like this that actually intensifies over time, so that's why we're noting it. There's an area of very, very weak low pressure somewhere in here, and this is causing some lighter snowfall to the north, lighter rainfall to the south. Again, there is the potential that this becomes more moderate to heavy in nature. Right now, we see this European model develops this into a 1003 weak low pressure system offshore, and this continues to bring light to maybe moderate snowfall to the northeast for some folks. Again, still by this 20th time frame, we have a really ripe positive PNA pattern that's causing this ridge to really bubble up out west, and it's causing this trough to dig pretty far south into the east as we still have an Arctic air mass overhead. This is going to be a pretty long-term Arctic pattern that we're stuck in for the most part. And as we take this towards Saturday afternoon on the 20th, we can see that this low does actually intensify to a 996. It's just a rather low precipitation storm. Time will tell if that's going to continue to be the case, but the real story here is that it is definitely cold enough to support snowfall up and down the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast areas of the United States. So really we just need that storm part to come together, and this would end up being more than what we're seeing it currently. Keep that in mind. Now, as we take this towards Sunday, here we can see that we are stuck in a colder but drier pattern, and eventually we finally see a warm up sometime between the 22nd and the 23rd. Mostly this is happening due to a negative PNA that's trying to develop as we see colder air diving into the west, and this causes the opposite, warm air, to be able to surge into the central and eastern states. So we eventually see this, at least for the time being, after the 20th, develop. Keep in mind that we do see some storm signals in the central states, could be looking at more storminess in the near future. GFS model, we're going to get to where it becomes a little bit more debatable. Here is this southern storm, and we can see it looks quite similar, maybe a little heavier snowfall here across the deeper south and portions of the southern mid-Atlantic. It's as we move past this and into later on Tuesday and even Wednesday, there's your low that we saw move out with the European model, and here is that secondary low that I was referring to developing over the southeast coast as we're reaching Tuesday into Wednesday time frame. That's going to be the 16th into the 17th, and this American model, as the cold air moves in, actually has us pick up some snowfall, very light to moderate at most, but definitely the Mid-Atlantic has some chance if this right here, this GFS model happens to be correct. We see that sticks around for a little bit, slides off the coast. The same story is true here as we saw on some of our previous models and previous patterns that we're going to be seeing in the upcoming future. The Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast are cold enough for snow. It's less about that and much more about if there's going to be a storm or not during those time periods. So that is one puzzle piece that is in place. We just need that other puzzle piece to connect in order to see snowfall events here. As we move forward, what we will see is that we get a much more major storm around the 20th, whereas the European model had that minor storm over this area causing light snowfall in the north, light rainfall in the south. The GFS model has a full-blown nor'easter developing with moderate to heavy snowfall throughout some of the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic here, with heavier rainfall to the deeper south. Definitely a lot more interesting here, and this is able to move up the coast and actually impact southern New England as well, with some very, very heavy snowfall throughout the Mid-Atlantic and the southern Northeast there as a 985 millibar low pressure center develops along that air mass of cold air. Definitely a right pattern. Like I said, the potential is there, and this is an example of both puzzle pieces coming together and clicking into place. Like I mentioned, the European was much more of one puzzle piece being present without the other one coming in to connect with it. I hope that makes sense. Might be getting a little bit confusing with that analogy, but I think it's a really good one. As we keep going, of course, that storm does move out. We remain in a very cold pattern in the east up until about the 22nd, 23rd, just like that European model showed. And we actually remain that way for quite a bit. We get a couple of storms up to the north that might have some potential to cause snowfall far to the north and far in the interior eastern states, but really not too much potential there. I think the biggest story here is that we actually see the GFS model return us into this positive P&A pattern along the west and massive Arctic air mass in the east before month's end, approximately the 28th, 29th timeframe. So there's a lot of promising things to look at in this upcoming pattern, a lot of potential for the East Coast still, and even after this period of storms and cold, there's certainly more to be excited about moving forward towards the end of January and into February, which I can give you a little bit of an early insight here. I'm just going to say it, but February does look pretty promising from what I'm seeing in the long range. So keep that in mind as well. As we take a look at the total precipitation, we can see things have died down in the east on this European model. Remember, we don't have that same nor'easter developing offshore of the East Coast, so we really get minimal activity on this model here. We do remain very, very active, however, in the Northwest, though. I want to switch us over, actually, to that GFS model, and we're going to have to switch the run as well to this 12Z run. And as we can see, there's actually a lot more activity. Still nothing too crazy, but we have a lot more going on here in the East on the American model as opposed to the European model. So there is differing opinions there. Total snowfall on the European model, we have plentiful amounts over the west, no surprise there. A little bit less for the northern plains and upper Midwest upcoming, but there is some potential again in the deeper south into the northeastern states. GFS model here, same thing out west, same thing for the upper Midwest, same thing for the Great Lakes even, but the difference here is the deeper south into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast is a lot more ripe for snowfall over the next 10 to 15 days. Certainly looks active here on this GFS model, certainly looks a lot less active on the European model, and now the upcoming debate is going to be which model is correct. Be sure to subscribe as we're going to be going over all of this daily with you guys. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.